Welcome back to the Green Bay Football Corporation, where today we're going to talk about some of Jeff Hafley's former players from Boston College that might be of interest to the Packers in the 2024 NFL Draft. So there's really two guys that I'm looking at that might be potential fits for Green Bay. First off, starting on the offensive line, which we know Hafley's the defensive coordinator, but the best player coming out from Boston College this year is probably guard Christian Mahogany, who in 2022 actually had an ACL injury. So this season he was coming back off of that and had a nice rebound season, even though his grades didn't quite line up to what his grades were in 2021 before the injury. But that actually makes him a little bit more of a potential target, either the end of day 2 or early in day 3 for the Packers potentially. So when you look at his size, this is pre-combine, his size is around the range that Green Bay typically covets. So he's listed at 6'3", around 306 pounds, I believe, per NFL Draft Buzz. And at that size, that is pretty much typical for Green Bay for the guys that they draft with the intention of playing guard. So if you look at like John Runyon, you see he's 6'4", 306. Elton Jenkins, 6'4", 310 pounds. So that's right in that same range where Mahogany is. And Green Bay covets that agility, especially on the interior of the offensive line, to be able to move and pull. So that's something that per NFL Draft Buzz he excelled at. One of the upsides too that Green Bay also likes is some positional versatility. Not that he played a lot of snaps at tackle, but he did play a little bit at right tackle this past season. But he did play both left and right guard throughout his college career. So that's a plus. One of the downsides, though, is he is a little bit older. Not an old process by any means, but he's 23 and a half years old currently. So around the time the season starts, he's probably 24 years old, which is a little bit longer in the tooth than Green Bay likes to go after. But for a day 3 guy, that's about when they kind of lift off of some of their rigid requirements that they have for players. So I wouldn't be surprised if, the Packers target him on day 3 if he's available. The other guy on this defense, starting cornerback, a ton of playing experience at Boston College. Played 6 seasons for them. The first season he, little pieces here and there, some special teams, stuff like that. But then started the next 5 seasons, and that's Elijah Jones. So he was their number 1 cornerback for a number of years. 6 years of eligibility, a lot of playing experience. And he actually played his best ball this past season for Boston College. So it might be something that, that familiarity with Jeff Hafley coming in to a new job here might be something that they would look at. He's definitely a late round pick at best. He might be a priority undrafted free agent for the Packers if he doesn't get drafted at all. But the downside, again, is he's already 24 years old. So he is going to be an older prospect. He's got a lot of mileage on him, playing all that much at the college level. But, maybe they look at that as somebody who can come in and has that familiarity with the coach and can help, ease him into the team there. He's listed at 6'1", 181. He will be at the combine. So looking to see where his testing shows up, and is that something that might have him meet some of the thresholds for the Packers. 6'1", good size, 181, a bit light by the Packers thresholds. They usually want to go somewhere 190, 195 at a minimum, but really looking for somebody that can be up at that 200-pound level and not lose any of their explosiveness. From NFL Draft Buzz, he does have good speed that he can use as a recovery tool, but he's primarily a zone coverage corner. But obviously, Jeff Hafley likes to press, so he's got some experience doing that as well. He did post some nice grading numbers per PFF in 2023 with an 89.8 coverage grade. So that's very good. But again, a little bit older prospect, not necessarily playing against all of the premier talent in the ACC. So things to be considered, but, possibly late round draft pick, take a flyer on him, or undrafted free agent potentially. We'll see. And the last guy I wanted to talk about is actually on the Packers already, and that's Isaiah McDuffie. Everybody should know by now that he did play for Jeff Hafley for 1 season at Boston College. But the big thing with that in particular is his numbers actually went down a bit. So you might think like, oh, it's great that he's got that experience with Hafley, but coming off an injury the year before that, his grades dropped somewhat significantly from 56 in his junior year to 39.9. And notably, he was struggling a lot with coverage in that. So I'm not sure how much of a fit he's going to be with what Hafley wants to do from the linebacker position. And while I mentioned that he struggled a little bit in coverage, it wasn't just coverage. He also dipped a good bit on the run defense side of things as well. His tackling stayed steady, but his run fits weren't as well either. And if you go back even further to his sophomore year, his best graded season at Boston College, that difference from sophomore year to that redshirt junior year, 2 years separation, playing under a different system, it's even more drastic of a drop. So I'm really curious to see how he fits into Jeff Hafley's defense in Green Bay. But that's kind of what I wanted to look at here. Not a ton of guys, not a lot of prospects from Boston College coming out this year. A few more offensive linemen, but very low-end guys that I don't even think are going to be on a lot of people's radar. So I didn't want to focus on them. And I hope you enjoyed it. And check back later because I want to look at some of these assistant defensive coaches that came in. Who are some guys that might be available in free agency from their former jobs that Green Bay might be interested in targeting?